Hello, and welcome back to the Bottom Bins, and this is Summer Transfers, Episode 5.
This is the Bottom Bins podcast.
Oh, yeah!
So, not a whole pile went on this week, lads, so we actually haven't got a lot of confirmed transfers to talk about here, to be honest. But look, we'll start with two transfers that did officially happen in the Premier League this week. First one, Urian Timber to Arsenal, £34 million for the Ajax centre-back. Very versatile, can also play a right-back. Look, we know how good he is in possession. He was linked very heavily with Manchester United last year. This is one that I'm actually gutted that we sort of missed out on. Oren, just shifting across to you first. What's he going to bring to Arsenal? And is it the type of player that they need right now?
Yeah, I think he is. And as you say, I'm also quite gutted as well. Well, not necessarily that I wanted him this summer. I thought we were really going to get him last summer. I am obviously chuffed that we did get Lisandro Martinez in the end up. However, as you say, versatility, and that's what Arsenal need, especially from their centre-backs. We've seen that with Ben White, who, they signed for 50 million and they've been playing him primarily as a right-back. And he done a fantastic job last year. However, although Timber played heavily as a right back in the last few, or as a centre back in the last few years, he is more comfortable. I would say personally, he is more suited and comfortable to the role of right back than Ben White probably is. However, it does give another option, and we say with Arsenal in the last few years, especially when they're trying to compete, like not even just competing for leagues, but as a team, they need to be competing for positions. So it's good. It's a good signing for Arsenal, who not only have cover now in centre back for when the likes of Saliba could get injured, like he did last year, and we've seen the impact that had in Arsenal. However, they've got both cover for centre back, right back, and even if they absolutely needed it, hold midfield. So for £34 million, Ajax got a good deal, especially considering they rejected in upwards of 50 million from us last year. They got an extra year out of him, and now he's leaving for £34 million to a club that has a really good project going under Mikel Arteta. So good move for the player and a good move for the club.
Yeah, completely agreed. I think this is a very special talent, to be honest. I think Timber's one of those players that I think he's going to be really key to what Arsenal want to do next year, especially when we talk about, Arsenal in possession of the ball last year. You could already see sort of Arteta's fingerprints starting to be stamped on the team. And I think when they actually come into possession, I think teams are now trying to invert their fullbacks. This is the new style of playing football. And really what Timber allows you to do is, like, if Zinchenko inverts and moves forward, Timber's very comfortable then to slot in and play that sort of right centre back and play in that back three. So I think that's what he's going to give them when they're in possession of the ball. When they're out of possession of the ball, obviously recovery pace, absolutely rapid. And an excellent tackler of the ball, wonderful distributor of the ball, put up his biggest defensive numbers in his career last season with Ajax, and also put up his most progressive numbers under Ajax last season as well. So it just goes to show you, at 22 years of age, this guy is really beginning to look like the real deal. Connor, coming across to you now. Look, big target that Man United missed out on last summer. Is this one that you think Arsenal fans are lapping up and thinking, yeah, like we've taken a priority target from Manchester United?
Okay, I'm not sure about that, but I do think it's one that was necessary. As you boys have been saying, he's very versatile. Like, he plays centre back, right back. I thought a key moment in the title race last year was when Arsenal lost Saliba when he got injured, and then they lost Tomiyasu, so they had to play Ben White or right back instead of centre back, which definitely cost them because Rob Holding came in there and he just wasn't up to the standard. As you said, they're getting a good player, one that obviously we would have loved at United, but in the end we got Martinez, who was also brilliant last year on his debut season. But I think it's just, as we said about Arsenal, the strength of the squad, they're just using that Man City model, and I think for 35 million, like, it's a really good deal, as you said. Like, Oren, last year United were offering upwards of 50 million. I feel like we would have paid 50-60 million for him. I thought at the World Cup he played okay. I just love that stat. He fouled the most players, but that just means he's keen. He does live on the edge a bit. Like he will go in for a tackle, but he does have that recovery pace, as you said. And for Arsenal, it is a good signing. And Arsenal are just making, they're just improving uh, every transfer window. And under Arteta, they're definitely going to be title contenders. And I think this is a key signing and probably an underrated one. Obviously the Rice one cost 105 million, but this could be one of the steals of the transfer window.
Yeah, I think, look, we did say last season on the podcast, oh, like Arsenal would need to do it. Like I'm talking about last season, sorry, we kept saying, oh, Arsenal would need to do it now because this is realistically their best chance at doing anything. But the more this window progresses, and you even see, like, I seen quotes from Arteta there today saying they're not finished. Like they have more business to do in this market, and they're really, really worrying me for next season. I think they are going to be maybe just as strong as Man City. Okay, they don't have an Erling Haaland and they don't have a Kevin De Bruyne, but they have a Martin Odegaard, they have a Gabriel Jesus, and now they have a Declan Rice. They're the quality that they have now is absolutely crazy. Oren, look, are they realistically back in the title race again just from looking at what they've signed in the summer?
Yeah, 100%, 100%. And I do, like, I am interested that both of you have kind of shifted the opinion from a couple of months ago where, we did think, this was Arsenal's chance. They really had to do it this time if they wanted to win a league in the next few years. But, it's easy to criticise Arteta as a manager. However, in terms of transfer business, he hasn't really got it wrong. Do you know what I mean? And he made a huge, huge decision last year that kind of went unnoticed as well, despite him performing so well. Arteta had the decision whether to keep William Saliba or put him out on loan again, because this was a man who had never touched a ball for Arsenal, despite having signed for like 25 million a few years ago as a prospect from Saint Etienne. And look, he done fantastic when he was out on loan in Ligue 1. But yeah, Arteta made that big decision, which people often forget about. They kind of think that Saliba was near enough a new signing for Arsenal, and he kind of was. So look, he's not afraid to make the big decisions, which is good. Arsenal definitely have a good manager on their hands, a prospective manager as well, who, he plays the youth as well. Like, was the youngest average age of a team in the Premier League last year.
Yeah.
Like, that's fantastic for a team that fought Manchester City right until the very end. Like, was it 80% of the league season or whatever, they were top of the league? Do you know what I mean? Like, the only way is up for Arsenal. And only one place to go, which is the top of the Premier League from second. So with all this recruitment, which is good recruitment, despite heavy transfer fees, it improves their team. So transfer fees, whatever, if it improves their team, it's worth it to the team. And I'll always say that for any team. So yeah, genuinely title contenders 100%.
Yeah, their business is an absolute statement of intention. And I know we've used that phrase a couple of times over the last few weeks, but there's no other way to describe it other than statement of intention. The signings they are making are of an elite quality. They're signings that you would sort of, like, they're signings that Man City would make. That's the way I'm looking at it, and I think that's very much the way Arsenal are heading. That's, Pep worked very closely with Arteta, and I think Arteta has just nitpicked and lifted wee pieces from his time there at Man City, and now he's implementing it at Arsenal. Connor, look, it's going to be very hard to dethrone Man City. We know that. But out of the rest of the teams in the Premier League, are Arsenal probably the closest to Man City?
100%. As Owen was saying, they're the young players they have. They're just going to keep getting better, like Saka, Martinelli, Jesus, if he can stay fit. They brought in Havertz, a player that I don't really rate, but like, as Owen was saying there as well, like, all the players that Arsenal have signed in previous transfer windows have worked out. I think they might get rid of Partey and get in maybe in a younger player as well. Like, and they were looking Declan Rice from the start, and Arteta has kept saying he's going to be key in this project. So I expect Declan Rice to perform at a top level. They're bringing in Timber. They've got Havertz. They just have to be. I actually think, if I used to predict now, I think Arsenal might win the league, to be honest, because I think City could slide a bit. Losing a player like Gundogan.
Oh,
Ooh, Dortmund, why?
Yeah, I'm not even joking. Yeah, I think last year they learned from it. A bit more experience. I think Shaka's a big miss, but looking at that squad, they're up there with Man City now, 100%. And it is going to be also the Champions League's going to be a big one for them because that extra game. But they were in the Europa League last season, which I think hindered them in the end. But uh, I think Arsenal have a massive chance in the Premier League. I think it's between them, Man City, and Liverpool. But I would actually back Arsenal at the minute.
Manchester United
They've no striker, so no.
first. Not yet, lad. Not yet. But by the end of the window, you'll be changing your mind, lad.
If you go to the bottom bins TikTok page, I just did my early prem predictions, and I had United in second. And my message to the people at home is
Second?
second, lad. At City top,
Well, we predicted like 3 weeks ago. You said fourth.
I know, lad, but I've changed my mind. I've changed my tune, lad.
Wins the league.
I said they're going to push City all the way. Push City all the way. I'm not saying they're going to win it, but they're going to push City all the way. Absolutely. I think City might only win it by a couple of points. You know, maybe.
What, to United?
Aye, City could be 102, United could be 100.
Yeah. Oh, it's not out of the realms of possibility.
If we got 100 points, and we didn't win the Premier League, I'd be raging. Like
Did Liverpool get 100 points? No.
99 or something, wasn't it?
99, was it? God, that's gotten like that must have felt awful.
oh no, I felt sorry for Liverpool fans. So did I really felt sorry for them.
Yeah, something like that. Oh, good enough for them.
I know, exactly.
Just start calling out every Liverpool fan we know.
Happy days. Stevie, what about you, lad?
Well, look, moving it on from that anyway, boys. The only other confirmed Premier League transfer we can talk about is, honestly, one of the greatest prospects in Manchester United history. The best winger to come out of Holland, probably since Arjen Robben. Tahith Chong has signed for Luton Town. And, you know, we said last week, Ogbeni couldn't be their statement signing. Well, do you know what? They've just upped the statement by signing the most multifaceted and multi-talented winger in Premier League history, I do believe. Obviously, just taking the piss. But
Mate, I couldn't put it better myself.
obviously, just taking the piss. But Oren, look, in all seriousness, Chong, we were there for his debut, actually, for Manchester United. Yeah, what do you think he's going to do for Luton?
Exactly that, lad, yeah. Yeah, no, Tahith Chong, 10 million is ridiculous because if Man United still had him, we couldn't sell him for 10 million. So how Birmingham have sold him for 10 million is mad. Like, we get a 25% sell-on clause. We get more from the Chong deal going to Luton from Birmingham than we got for Zidane Iqbal to go to Utrecht. So shows how good United are at selling. But yeah, Tahith Chong, look, the one thing I will say about him is, much like in the direction I thought you were going when you were saying the best winger to ever come out of Manchester United, I thought you were going to be talking about Anthony Elanga going to Everton, but you're talking about Tahith Chong. So two world-class prospects, to be fair. So, you know, it's an easy mistake for me to make. But yeah, much like Anthony Elanga, in fairness, work rate is top-notch. Top-notch. And, you know, Tahith Chong will try things. He is still quite a raw talent, but again, Luton, yes, they're improving on what they've already got, but you can't be buying championship players to play in the Premier League. They need a Premier League squad, and if they don't make some proper statement signings, like, there's plenty of players available on free transfers. Even, like, I know Forest signed like 4 billion players last year, but they need to go and look in that free agency market and look for players with experience, not necessarily Premier League experience. Premier League experience is preferable for them. However, top league experience, European experience, because there's players out there, like we seen with Forest, will play for relegation threatened clubs in order to play in the Premier League, especially players who haven't played in the Premier League just yet, but really want to make that move. So it's not like they would have no short of suitors. I don't know. Look, I do think Tahith Chong, £10 million for them, it's not breaking the bank. Do you know what I mean? I don't think it will be their statement signing, but they need to improve. And Tahith Chong probably improves their team. somehow. I don't know. Do you know? Um, yeah, not much else I can say. It'd be interesting to see how he copes in the Premier League.
Benny was their statement signing lad.
Baller lad, both of them baller. Left wing Chong, right wing Ogbani. That's the Premier League winning side.
Well, look, the only thing you would say is, you know, Ogbani had a decent season in the championship last year, and Chong had a decent season in the championship last year. I completely agree with you, Warren. If you're going to play in the Premier League, stop signing players from the championship as if you're building some sort of world beating championship squad. Like, this squad would look good if you were still in the championship, but you're not. You're in the top flight now. You need to start signing footballers, not jobbers. You know what I mean? So, look, uh, I didn't mind Chong. I always thought he was all right. Like, but when he did play for United, you did kind of look at him and go, "Oh, is he really Premier League level? Like, really?" And look, I'm sure his game has developed. I haven't seen a whole pile of him from he left Man United, so I just know he put up decent numbers in the Championship last year. So look, I think it'll definitely be an interesting one. Like, is he going to come back to the Premier League with a bit of a vengeance? Is he going to be like, look at me, I've gone away and I have improved tenfold? Who knows? You never know.
I would highly doubt it, lad. I'm not going to lie, lad. I don't think John's going to sign for Luton and score 10 goals and get 10 assists. Not a chance.
Listen, lad, I'm trying to be positive.
To be honest, I'm not even going to slag him that much. I'm not even going to slag him that much because I haven't seen him play that much. But like, you look at his stats: 4 goals, 5 assists in the championship last year. Like, it's not great. Like, they're not even taking the best players in the championship. They're taking like lads that are just average. I just read there now, like the manager basically wanted him because he's seen him play for Man United under 23s and he thought he was impressive. That's the truth. So yeah, there's no difference in the under 23s in the Premier League.
It's not looking great, like, is it? Like, realistically, they are going to really, really, really struggle next year. Like, I have them finishing, even at those early Prem predictions on TikTok earlier, I had them slap bang bottom. And I believe the thing I said about them was probably the worst squad I think we've ever seen in the Premier League. And I know they have time to fix that, but like, you run through that team 1 to 11. Could you even name me a 1 to 11 from Luton?
I could name you Ogbani and I could name you Tave John.
Yeah, I was going to say I can name 2 players. They're 2 players of this thing.
And that by Ponzu, who's been there since, I don't know, 1981 or something.
I honestly, I would agree with that. I think it's the worst. It's the worst squad that's ever came up to the Premier League. Yeah, I don't think the Coventry squad was good either. The one that played in the playoff final. I don't think it was good. So I don't know if that's to do with the championship, the standard. I know they did have a really good striker, Coventry, but for Luton, I don't know honestly any other players.
I know it's. Maybe we're being a wee bit disrespectful. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know.
I don't think it's disrespectful. I would say it's more realistic, to be honest. I think we could be being naive. Like, we don't. Like, we can't say we've sat and watched Luton for the last 3 seasons, and they have performed well for the last 3 seasons. However, as we keep saying, this is the Premier League. It's literally the Premier Division of football. It's the most sought and most watched league in the world. You can't be making signings based on, oh, you played for the Man United under 23s and you look decent. Do you know what I mean? You need to be signing players that are going to keep you up in the Premier League. Statement signings. Cult heroes. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's what Luton should be looking at the minute. They should not be looking. No disrespect to Heath Chong, and I hope he does succeed. But he shouldn't be one of their targets, realistically. They shouldn't be looking at a 5-goal, 4-assist winger in the Championship. They should be looking at a 5-goal, 4-assist winger in the Premiership. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's players available. Older players, even the likes of Theo Walcott, who performed well for Everton in the last half of the season. He's available as a free agent. Or for Southampton, sorry. He's available as a free agent. Why not sign him? I don't know. Doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah. No, no, look, I totally understand what you're saying. I mean, Premier League experience still counts for a whole pile these days. And I mean, the players that they're signing don't have Premier League experience. So, you know, ultimately they're going to have to bed into the Premier League just like the rest of the squad. So it's going to be very difficult for them. But look, that was the only two confirmed transfers that we have. So now we can move on to what we're calling this week in football. Because we don't have a whole pile of transfers to talk to you about. So we thought, well, we need to try and get a full episode out of this somehow. So, right, where are we starting, boys? Start with Liverpool. Darwizzy, number 9. Um, taking Firmino's number. Big shoes to fill. I am not his biggest fan. If anybody who has listened to the podcast before, if you're tuning in for the first time, all you need to know is I think Darwin Nunez is pants. And what does giving the number 9 change him? Owen, what do you think?
Look, I was quite optimistic about Darwin Nunez last season. And I still am quite optimistic. I think he shows a lot of promise. He is quite raw still, and I think this season has to be a crucial season for him at Liverpool. I don't think Klopp's going to give him more time than this season, to be honest. So I think he needs to perform, especially with the responsibility of taking Roberto Firmino's old number. Like as we said last week, Roberto Firmino can genuinely be called a Liverpool legend after his time. So taking this number with the amount of number 9s that Liverpool have had that have been so iconic for the club, this is a huge, huge statement from Jurgen Klopp. So he'll be hoping more than anything that it pays off. I do personally think Darwin Nunez has the ability to be a 25 goal a season striker. However, he needs to really, really improve on his finishing. So look, big responsibility, big shoes to fill, as you say. But personally, I think he's got the ability. I just think he needs a bit of time. Whether he's going to get the time, who knows?
Yeah, look, I mean, I'm going to put my nice hat on here and try and be as nice about this as possible. But I think he has a lot of attributes that top forwards in the game desire. I think he's very, very fast. He's very direct. Not necessarily a great dribbler of the ball, but I don't think he has to be because of the way that he plays. Look, my biggest criticism of him last season was his ability in front of goal. I just thought it was abysmal, to tell you the truth. And I know he still scored like 17 goals in all competitions or whatever, but I just thought, like in big games even, like when you looked at some of the chances he missed last year, you were kind of like, you're looking at the bottom end of the Premier League going, I reckon Shea Adams sticks that away. You know what I mean? Like some of them were fucking horrific, to be honest. But look, yeah, it's like you said, Owen. I mean, it's a big responsibility, but he's going to have time in that Liverpool team. Like Klopp just doesn't give up on players, and I think with the signings that they've made, is that going to get more out of him next season? Like, is he going to be able to play more freely because they now have good midfield signings in there? I still think they need to do more business, mind you, but the two signings they've made so far have definitely improved their squad, no doubt about it. Connor, yeah, look, similar question. I mean, he's taken that number 9 shirt. He came under a lot of criticism last season from a lot of pundits. Do you think this is the season for Darwin Nunez? Does he give Liverpool the return on the investment that they paid?
I think so. I think it was at Benfica in his first season he was very poor, and then he stepped up the next season. Obviously a lot of pressure. The iconic 9 jersey, Ian Rush has worn, and Fernando Torres, and Robbie Fowler. So it is a lot of pressure, but it shows that Klopp believes in him. He did cost 70 million, so he is going to play this season, and I honestly think he will get 20 plus goals in the Premier League next season. I think he has. I know what you're saying about his finishing. I thought his finishing last year was abysmal, but he gets himself in the right position, and as you say, he's got that speed. If he can just, if he takes 50% of his chances, he will score 20 plus goals in the Premier League. And I think he will do it. And I think he's had a year now in the Premier League, and it's going to stand him in good stead. And I think next season he will start firing. At Benfica, he was like, even I've seen him against Benfica or against Liverpool in the Champions League, and his finishing was unbelievable. I don't know what happened to him last season, but I think this coming season, I think that if he performs to what he can do, he will score, as Owen was saying, there 25 plus goals in the Premier League. It is a huge statement, but And if he does that, Liverpool will be title contenders.
Definitely, definitely.
And as you said, the players have brought in a lot more creativity in there too, so he's going to get even more chances, I think. If he can stay fit, I think at least 20 goals in the Premier League next season.
See, I don't like on our podcast, boys. In all seriousness, I actually don't give Liverpool that hard of a rattle. But this is the one thing I'm putting my foot down on. This is the one stance about Liverpool I'm taking. I think that fella's going to be a flop. I think when his time at Liverpool is said and done, I don't think that fella's career at Liverpool will have amounted to anything. That's just my personal opinion on it. I could be so far wrong, so far wrong. And if he does prove me wrong, I'm happy to hold my hands up and say, do you know what? I got that completely wrong. But it's the one thing I'm putting my foot down on. I just don't think he's that good of a striker, to be completely honest. I think, when I look at other strikers in the Premier League, I think Watkins is better than him. I think Wilson's better than him. I think Isak's better than him. I really struggle to come up with justification for why he might score or why he might score 25 plus goals in the Premier League. I do totally understand what you two are saying. I really, really do, and I am taking it on board. It is the one thing about Liverpool that I'm just putting my foot down on. Maybe it's the fee. Maybe the fee's putting me off. I don't know. What do you think, Oren? Like, it was a lot of money.
Yeah, it was a lot of money. Is there any personal grievance because he didn't come to United?
No. And to be honest, lads, even when we were linked with him, I was not that keen.
Aye. Though I was, because we still needed a striker then. Do you know what I mean? Look, I do rate the fella. I think he has got the attributes. I think he's flying. I think he's one of the fastest players in the Premier League when he's at full speed. I do think he just needs to work on his finishing. Like, I think after one season, it would be very, very, very harsh to write him off. Like, if this was Rashford, if we started this podcast 2 years ago, and Rashford, after a season with Ollie and Rangnick, I said I was looking at him going, and he went and scored 30 plus goals in all competitions for club and country. Do you know what I mean? Like, Darwin Nunez, I don't know, Liverpool could have their own version of Benny McCarthy somewhere hiding in their staff. So, he could whack out the 25 goals, no bar. Look, you have to look at chances missed as well. Like, I know it's not a good stat to have loads of chances missed. And I know Haaland had, I think, the most big chances missed in the Premier League this season. And sure, he still got 30 odd, 40, 50 something goals in all competitions. So if you look at chances missed, it means he's getting into the right position. Finishing can be taught. Getting into the right position, I don't think can be taught. And he has that attribute in abundance. He's always in the right position. So, I genuinely think he has the ability to be a 25 goal in the league striker. And I'm interested to know whether you think, both of you boys, I'm interested to know whether you think this statement of giving him the number 9, does that mean Klopp's giving him that assurance, you're starting striker for me?
I'd be very surprised if it did, to be honest, lad, because, I mean, like, again, the same way that I'm looking for justifications as to why he would be a 25 goal a season striker, I'm looking for justifications as to why he would even start for Liverpool. To me personally, I think Liverpool's best front three is Diaz, Salah, Jota, and even when fit, I think that Gakpo's going to be a better player than Nunez as well, and I think there is going to be a time when maybe Gakpo displaces Jota in that front three as well. So, like, really, I'm looking at Darwin Nunez and I'm seeing him as like the 5th choice attacking option at Liverpool.
Well, he's only 24 as well, and he, as Owen said there, he's got instincts. That's the key for a striker. He is in the right position. I think he will prove you wrong next year. To be honest, I think he will perform, and I think if he can just get off to a good start. I know he did score against Fulham. I think it was the first game. Kind of dipped from there, but I've seen highlights of him for Benfica, and I even seen him against Liverpool, and seen him in the Champions League, and he is a good finisher. It just didn't happen for him last year, and that can happen. It's happened to many players. Like Rashford's a great example. He had a bad year. The previous year, I think he only scored 5 goals, and once he got that confidence and obviously the help, he's got 30 plus goals. I honestly think Nunez has a lot of ability, and I think will score as 20 plus goals in the Premier League next year. Could be wrong as well.
Well, look, like I said, if I'm wrong, I'm more than happy to hold my hands up and admit that I was wrong. So we'll just need to wait and see for next season.
And we're in the wrong here because I don't want him to score 20 plus goals next year because that means Liverpool will be successful. So I'd rather him be shit. Like, I hope you're right.
Oh, is there sound like two Liverpool fans over there, Cesar?
That's the problem when like I'm like, oh, Arsenal's going to win the league. I sound like an Arsenal supporter. I'm like complete opposite.
Look, we're a Premier League podcast at the end of the day. We'll have to give everybody their fair dues and their fair criticism as well. But moving on from Darwin Nunez then, boys, Marcus Rashford signs a 5-year deal at Manchester United, committing his long-term future to the club. And I, for one, am absolutely buzzing about this. It did just seem the longer it drew on, I was kind of like, uh, has somebody maybe offered Rashford a lot more money to go elsewhere? And it was really beginning to worry me, to be honest. But thankfully, pen to paper, agreement in principle, Rashford's going to be at Manchester United for at least the next 5 years. Or really, listen, take out the Onana signing, take out the Mason Mount signing. This is probably the most important piece of business that Manchester United needed to get done this summer.
100%. 100%, especially off the back of last season. And look, depending on our budget and all, who genuinely knows if we will sign a striker? So Rashford could really, there's a chance that Rashford could really be relied upon like he was last season. Hopefully, he's not going to, hopefully we'll have a striker to fill that little bit of void. But yeah, an incredible business for Man United. And as Fabrizio confirmed, there was other Premier League clubs in for him. There was clubs all across Europe in for him that offered a higher wage packet than Manchester United, and David Ornstein said this as well. But his view was that he wants to win the major honours at Manchester United, and boyhood club, boyhood dream. Marcus Rashford, he's the best. He is the best. We said it on multiple occasions last year that there was a point in time at stages last year where he genuinely was the best player in world football. So we've seen glimpses of the heights that he can genuinely reach. So for him to be reaching his potential at Manchester United, as a Manchester United fan, I am absolutely ecstatic about it.
Yeah, agreed. I think now the important thing is over these next couple of transfer windows, as he sort of comes into his peak now, the squad around him just needs to benefit him. I think, I really do think, and not to use an Americanism, but I do think that he's like Manchester United's franchise player, and I think that this era under Manchester United will be defined by a team that was built around Marcus Rashford. And you look at some of the business Ten Hag has already done with Casemiro and Bruno, really shoring up that midfield, but adding creativity with the likes of Mount and Eriksen. And, now you've got a right winger in Anthony, who, yes, hasn't hit the heights that we thought he was going to hit, but the one thing he offers you is complete and total spatial awareness out on that right-hand side, which frees up a lot of United's, sort of attacking patterns of play. So now it's about getting the right striker in beside him. Number one, that has to be the biggest priority now. We've got the goalkeeper now, and yeah, I just think it's about building a team around Rashford now that is going to be successful. And Connor, look, obviously when you hear that other clubs were interested in him, it does just highlight how far he has come in the space of a season. Like the fact that the rumours surrounding it at the minute were that it was PSG and Bayern Munich were both reportedly offering massive money to try and get him at their club. So really, in the space of one season, shows you the turnaround he's had, doesn't it?
Definitely, as I said there earlier, I think he scored 5 goals last season, and then he scored 30 this season. Got Player of the Year, Players Player of the Year. He was just brilliant last year. And as we were saying there, like he hasn't even reached his height yet, I don't think. It will be interesting to see will he play striker next year. I think he's better on the wing. I thought last season, like 17 goals in the Premier League, mostly as a winger, is an unbelievable total. And I think it was like he scored like 9 or 10 games in a row at Old Trafford. He was flying. Maybe he didn't, maybe ran out of steam a bit at the end, maybe because of the World Cup and the amount of games being played. But there's definitely a top player there. And it is crazy to think that PSG were in for him last summer, and a lot of people, I think, would have let him go at that stage. I think it was offering 80, 90 million. Um, and he's just turned it around, and you just got to give him credit. He's worked very hard. Um, I think he can get even better, and I think he is, as you said, he is our franchise player, and he is one of our own. And it's a massive year for him next year again. You just need to get better and better. And if United are have, as you said, if they're to challenge Man City, he's going to have to put in a before. He's going to have to be even better than last year.
Yeah, it's look. I'm just glad that it's done, and that we know he's a Man United player for the next 5 years, and that's that. Well, look, by sticking with strikers, seems to be a lot of movement across the continent. Inter reportedly furious with Romelu Lukaku, who, because he didn't start in the Champions League final, was flirting with Juventus and seeing if he could force some way into the Turin club. And in the Turin club itself, at Juve, talk that Dusan Vlahovic is entering a crucial week in his Juventus career, with PSG reportedly weighing up what it's going to take to get the Serbian to move to the Parisian. So, listen, I'm a fan of both of these deals, believe it or not. I actually think Vlahovic could go out there, and under Enrique, I think you could see big numbers. Strikers don't really tend to miss at PSG. They do still tend to score quite a lot of goals, and with Lukaku going the other way, I think, look, you know what you get from Lukaku, and he's got Serie A pedigree. He scored plenty of goals in Serie A. He is a goal scorer. Doesn't give you anything defensively. Not great whilst on the ball, but like, Juventus just needs somebody that's going to put the ball in the back of the net. That's what they struggled to do last season. It's why they were so poor last year. Just, like, Vlahovic didn't have a sparkling season. He was injured for quite big periods of time, and now they just need a guy that's going to come in and put the ball in the back of the net. Oren, what's your take on both of these reported transfers?
I don't know, to be honest. Like, I think the fee for Lukaku, when they're talking about 24, 25 to 30 million pounds, I think that's actually quite a low fee for him, because there is still a player there. The fact that, he was talking sweet nothings to Juventus while still keeping on the good side of Inter Milan wasn't ideal for him personally. But he was linked with Juventus years ago and all as well, so there's obviously still context to be made there. However, personally, I think Inter Milan are in a far, far better situation than Juventus. So if I was him, I would have been staying well clear of Juventus and staying at Inter Milan. However, this is a man who loves a change of club, but I still think personally that we'll see Lukaku in Saudi Arabia. I don't think it'll be an easy deal for PSG to get Dusan Vlahovic, because although he hasn't hit the heights that he hit at Fiorentina since he's joined Juventus, he's still going to cost you in the guts of 60 million quid. And I don't think PSG are willing to pay that unless they sell Neymar or unless they know Mbappe is going. So I still think, and as Fabrizio keeps saying, like, these two deals rely on each other. Like, Vlahovic has to go for Juventus's bid for Lukaku to be like intact. So I don't know. It'd be interesting to see how it develops in the next couple of weeks or in the next week or whatever. But I still think personally Lukaku, he'll end up in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting week, really, for those two strikers. But listen, I think this is really this situation in particular is really highlighted like what Lukaku's about as a player. We as Man United fans know that the issues that he caused when Oli wouldn't play him, he was quite bitchy, quite moany. Then we had, forcing his way out of Inter to get to Chelsea. And then when he gets to Chelsea, 2 months into his Chelsea career, sit down interview with Sky, bring me back to Milan. That's my club. That's my city. And, he doesn't start a Champions League final because admittedly last season, he was nowhere near his best. He did pick up towards the back end of the season, but he had no divine right to start in the Champions League final. Dzeko was in much better form than him at that period of time. And I don't know. I just think this has really highlighted an element of Lukaku's personality that maybe we have seen for quite some time, but maybe just not quite to this scale. I mean, the fact that a club fought so hard to get you back, paid over the odds on a loan deal to bring you back to your city, so to speak, and then you disrespect them like this. Connor, it does, look, we're not Inter fans, but I mean, it does sort of leave a sour taste in the mouth, doesn't it?
No, definitely. I was going to say that, like, a man that went to United, then complained, then went to Inter, then went to Chelsea, then complained again, went on Sky. He just doesn't have a great reputation of loyalty, to be honest. But yeah, it was kind of like Lukaku, even in that Champions League final, missed an absolute sitter. It wasn't even down to his play. I don't think he started that final. I think it was more just the style that Inter were playing. Jacko just brings that, more energy defensively as well. As you said, Lukaku has one of the worst touches I've ever seen as well. That at the professional striker level, I think Inter have kind of escaped one here. I think they're in talks with Arsenal to get Balogun, which could be a good signing for them. They'll probably pay a similar amount. Lukaku's getting a bit older now. I seen it like his stats last year in the Serie A weren't bad. He only played like 25 games though, so he didn't stay that fit. Um, the PSG one, to go from Mbappe to a guy that scored 10 goals in Serie A last year for Juventus is a tough pill to swallow. I've seen a lot of the ultras are like threatening him to cut off his fingers as well.
What?
Because of like a for surgery or something. Yeah. So it could be a tough start for the lad. He'd have to really hit the ground running if he's gonna succeed there. But as you said, like in PSG, like they had like Cavani, Ibra, Mbappe. They've all been successful. So if he goes there, he has a lot of potential. He was linked to Arsenal as well. Arsenal were really in for him when Juventus got him. It's just really it's really strange. PSG have kind of like they're linked to Zaha, and it's just the quality's kind of dropping for PSG.
It's interesting though. It's interesting this Inter deal. Like they've got rid of Xhaka. Xhaka left on a free transfer. He's with Turkey. So Lukaku would have been their main man once again, which is where he produced his best numbers, probably of his career, was when he first went to Inter Milan. And, that was the best version of Lukaku when he was the absolute main man in Serie A. And he had that opportunity to be that man again. And he was like, nah, do you know what? I want to change. And he's cheated on the whole one.
Listen, I'm going to disagree with you a wee bit. I don't think he was going to be the main man at Inter. I think their main man is Lautaro Martinez. I think he's their marketable superstar now. And I say superstar. I use the term superstar loosely when I'm talking about Lautaro Martinez, because I always thought he was the kind of striker that was on the precipice of being one of the elite strikers in Europe. And I mean, anytime I've ever watched him, not that I've watched him a whole pile, but I've actually been quite disappointed with him. But I mean, from what you read from Inter fans and even from what you see online about Lautaro Martinez, I do think he's Inter's big hope. I think over the next sort of 5-6 years, everything's going to be placed on Lautaro Martinez. He is going to be the guy at Inter.
I do agree. No, I do agree. But my only quibble of that is based on the Champions League this year. Xhaka was their main man up front. I know Lautaro Martinez was starting and he was playing every game, but in terms of central striker, that was dead and Xhaka for Inter last year, and I just feel like Lukaku had that opportunity to make that position his again, and he's ruined it.
Yeah, look, I mean, yeah, listen, I can see it both ways. I really, really can. But anyway, moving on from them. Any more big sort of rumours you can think about, lad?
Well, not necessarily rumours, but big talking point is Harry Maguire losing the captaincy at Manchester United.
Oh, yes, sorry, completely slipped my mind there, and I literally did a video about it earlier, but it just out of my head. Yeah, I think massive story. I mean, look, when I did that video with Isaac earlier, that will be up on our socials, guys, so keep an eye out. But Isaac asked me the question: will with the captaincy being taken away from him, does that mean that maybe the performances are going to improve from Harry Maguire? And he, like, the way he phrased questions to me was seemingly like Maguire was staying. And, the whole time we were having the conversation, I was kind of like, I mean, I still think that he's on the transfer list. I think ultimately he's Manchester United's fourth choice centre back. And although I think that you'll still need to replace him if you sell him, I don't think he's an asset to Manchester United in this current system and at this current time. Look, listen, Oren, do you agree with me, or do you still see a place for Harry Maguire at Manchester United?
It's tricky. It is a tricky one. The one thing about him is he does love the club. In fairness to him, he loves the club. He does want to perform for the club. Like I've seen, even in the last few weeks, he's been doing like 1-to-1 training with with Ricciardo Carvalho, out in Marbella. They've been cutting the shit out there and loving life. So he's looking to improve in his game. He's looking to reclaim his starting spot. I would say it's a big blow that he's lost the captaincy. However, I wouldn't say he was overly surprised by it, to be honest. I do like to see.
Is it deserved? Like, do you think? Do you think?
Absolutely, he should never have been given the captaincy in the first place. He was only given it on the back of an £80 million fee.
Well, look, I mean, we as United fans at the time, had we have been doing this podcast, we all would have said the exact same thing you just said. But I mean, has he done anything while he's been captain that's been particularly wrong, if you know what I mean? Like, I don't think there was one like standout reason as to why he shouldn't have been Manchester United captain, if you understand what I mean.
Well, look, I do understand that. However, a moment that stands out for me, my captain of Manchester United for the past 3 years has been Bruno Fernandes, personally. And a moment that really stands out for me is, I'm pretty sure it was West Ham, and we had just lost away from home, and our away fans were giving Ole Gunnar Solskjaer absolute dog's abuse. And Bruno Fernandes, Watford. Bruno Fernandes went over to the away fans and was like, don't be giving him shit, give us the shit, because they're the ones on the field. And to me, that's a captain, not the player who walked down the dressing room and didn't say nothing. Same with, difficult periods of this season in terms of Ronaldo and stuff. True captain speaks about that. Bruno Fernandes, obviously an international teammate. We've seen the tension that there was whenever Bruno Fernandes walked into the changing room at the Portugal World Cup for the Portugal World Cup team. We've seen the tension between him and Cristiano Ronaldo, and he obviously made his feelings known in private. However, stuff like that makes me think, you have the cojones to be the Manchester United captain, and never once, apart from maybe a scrap in Greece that showed he's got a bit of fighting spirit, never once did I think Harry Maguire was captain material for Manchester United, because he wasn't even captain at Leicester City, so I don't know how the fuck he could be captain of the biggest club in England.
Funny, that was one of the points that I actually said in that video chat. I said, wasn't the captain at Hull, wasn't the captain at Leicester, not even the captain for England, so what warranted being Manchester United captain, I understood the need at the time that United needed a new captain after Ashley Young's departure, but I mean, yeah, look, I completely agree with you, Warren. Why Ole Gunnar Solskjaer went to Harry Maguire is beyond my comprehension, to be completely honest. Connor.
But I'm not dissing his transfer. Sorry to interrupt. I'm not dissing his transfer. Whenever he first came in, I've said it on record on the podcast multiple times, he improved our squad. Yes, it was a big fee, but I'm not paying the fee. Do you know what I mean? He improved our squad at the time. It hasn't worked out, and I think it is time for him to go. But look at our wages and stuff. It's gonna be fucking difficult for him to go.
Yeah, and that's it. I mean, United want 40 million for him. That's what United have said. They're not accepting any less than 40 million. And I know we had the conversation a couple of weeks ago, maybe 30 million would do it, but no. United have a very, very hard stance on it. It's 40 million or nothing. So, yeah, it's going to be very difficult to shift him. Connor, look, Owen obviously went into detail there about Bruno Fernandes, and he is the front runner really to be the captain at the minute. But listen, other than Bruno Fernandes, is there anybody else in the squad you think would be worthy enough to pick up the captaincy?
No, I think it has to be Bruno, as he's led by example in his performances. He hardly misses any games. He's 2-time Player of the Year back to back, and then he came second there last year. So I think it's the only player that can really have an argument for it. He stood up many times for the manager as well as Orna Center for Ole Gunnar. But with Harry Maguire, like 80 million, I know the fee. He had a good first season, but from then on, there was a huge step. He kind of got caught out a lot. He lacks pace. He lacks mobility. It is going to be they're not going to get 40 million for him because his huge wages have to be counted in as well. Nobody is going to pay 40 million for a guy that United are trying to get rid of. And as Isaac was kind of saying to you earlier, like he was saying it, like, is he going to play better now? I don't think he's going to start any games. I think he's fifth choice centre back behind Luke Shaw. I put in front of him, and obviously Lindelof, Martinez, and Varane. I think he's been a very poor signing for Man United. 80 million. I know it's not his fault that he went for that much, but he did improve us the first season. But from then on, he has not been good. Even like the way he dealt with the Ronaldo situation was poor. Ronaldo wasn't keen on him either. He kind of lost respect for him throughout the years. He only played 1,600 minutes last year. He played like 30 games, I think, 16 starts. He was England captain. He lost that because of the Greek incident. He somehow held on to the United one. I don't know how that happened. But for me, it's the right time to go. Hopefully West Ham come in for him and obviously pay the money. But I think with the wages, it's going to be a nightmare. But how can he keep sitting on Man United's bench and starting for England? That is my question. Because I think if that came into question, he would leave. But by the sounds of it, he said he was disappointed to lose the captaincy. I think he's a bit deluded. He hasn't been up to scratch, and he's fifth choice centre back, and he needs to go. But again, it's always going to come back to the wages. It's going to be like, who's going to be willing to pay a big fee for a centre back that's going to be sitting on United's bench and pay him? His wages went up there because United got in the Champions League as well. It's just a poor situation. But again, that's to do with Man United. That's they give him a big contract. They paid 80 million for him, so we can't complain. That's how the club is run poorly, and that is shown here. And he's not the only player that United are going to struggle to get rid of.
Yeah, agreed. Well, one last thing to talk about, boys, before we sign off. Liverpool, finishing with them. Fabinho, Jordan Henderson look like they're going to be on their way to Saudi Arabia. One question for you, Oren. Looks like they're going to get £65 million for the two of them. 40 for Fabinho, 25 for Jordan Henderson. What are they smoking over in Saudi Arabia?
It's disgusting. Fred's on the transfer list, like, do you know what I mean? And that's a man who's worth £65 million if I've ever seen one. So should be looking at Man United's door, to be honest. 65 million quid for two past it midfielders is ridiculous. It's all well and good Steven Gerrard ringing up his old mates to come and sign their players and giving them £700,000 a week. Come on now. Jordan Henderson doesn't need that much convincing to go to Saudi Arabia. If he really, really wanted to go, he'd go no bar. He's on what at Liverpool, probably about 150 or so, even though he is captain. He knows his worth, do you know what I mean? If he was offered 300k at Saudi Arabia, he'd be like, yeah, I'm taking it. £700,000 for Jordan fucking Henderson. Come on now. Be realistic. Give me a break. I don't know. I hate it. I hate the fact that they're getting 65 million for them two midfielders. I absolutely despise it. But what can you do in today's market?
Yeah. Listen, today's market, yes. But, I mean, Fabinho has been shocking for 18 months now. Henderson, I don't think he's been awful, but he has definitely slowed down big time. It's the reason why Liverpool's midfield has become their press broke down last season because of the fragility of those two players. And I understand, yes, if two players from a Champions League and a Premier League winning side go over to Saudi Arabia, the exposure for their league goes up tremendously, and I really do understand why they're trying to make these signings. But I mean, in terms of an actual playing perspective, Connor, these are two midfielders that are long past their sell by date. So, where is £65 million coming from?
I think the Henderson one makes more sense because Gerrard is the manager. He knows what he's like as a player, as a leader. He's played over 400 times for Liverpool. He isn't at the standard he was a few years ago. I would agree with that, but I think he is a player that can improve a squad, and he will be like an assistant. He'll be like a second manager in that changing room for that Saudi team. I think it's actually obviously like 20 million is crazy. I don't think they expected to have to pay a fee, and that's where now it's becoming an issue. But the Henderson one I understand, but I don't understand the Fabinho one. Like 40 million for a guy, he was a really good player, one of the best holding midfielders in the world for 3 or 4 years. But they must have they must have been haven't watched him in the last 18 months, obviously, because he has fallen off a cliff. He was brutal last year, was a huge problem in that Liverpool midfield. Uh, I think the manager of that club is the former Wolves manager, so he obviously has some interest in him and probably thinks in that league he'd probably be okay. But I just don't understand where £40 million is coming from, especially, there'd be no other competition for him. Like, no other team would be like, oh, we want him. I know he probably has, I think he's another few years left on his contract, but that one I don't understand. I understand the Henderson one, don't understand the money. Like, he's getting paid 700 grand a week, so I can't blame him for going. I can understand leadership, experience. Gerrard, he'll be like a friend for Gerrard. He can go in the change room and do certain things for the team, but the Fabinho one is outrageous. But I won't be complaining if they came in with a £40 million for Fred and 20 million for Telles. I'll be happy enough.
Yeah. Yeah, let's go. Let's hope that happens. It's only fair. If everybody else is getting their share of the Saudi Arabian pay, well then, Saudi Arabia, this is a message to you. Come and give us some money so that we can start spending in the transfer market again. Well, look, that's going to do it for this week, folks. This was just a wee bit more of a casual podcast, really. Just more cutting the shit with your mates this week. Look, sorry that there wasn't more transfers to report. You can blame the clubs in the Premier League for that one, for not getting the finger out and not getting deals over the line. So hopefully come this time next week, we'll have plenty more transfers to cover for you. As always, at Bottom Bins Pod, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. We are moving mad over there at the minute. There is plenty of content up on those platforms now, and more content ideas fresh in the three of our heads that we are going to be rolling out over the next few weeks in the summer. And look, a personal milestone. Oren, do you want to let them know about the personal milestone?
Yeah, so over the last week on all of our socials across all platforms, we hit over 50,000 views, which, look, that is incredible. And I know we always talk about how grateful we are and whatever. And look, it's hard to put into words. Like 50,000 views for a podcast like ours, we never ever expected to get them sort of numbers. So, we'll keep making the content for you if you just keep enjoying it. And as Connor said, TikTok, Instagram especially have been booming. Facebook has been really, really, really good as well. So yeah, keep liking, keep sharing, keep retweeting, and we'll keep making the best content we can possibly produce for you.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And that is our sign-off message tonight. Thank you very much for listening. And as always, keep it bottom bins.
Keep it bottom bins.